go do it.
The wonderful tradition of getting outside and going hunting, at times, it's a solo proposition for alone time and pitting one's competitive nature against tough odds. In my mind, though, a huge part of hunting is camaraderie, and it's always double the fun and meaning when experienced with family or good friends. Of course, the common denominator in any event is figuring out a place to hunt. Among the choices are public lands, hunting grounds leased or owned by guides or outfitters who take a fee to give hunters access, or private land. Clearly, it's becoming increasingly difficult to gain permission to hunt on someone else's property, and there never seems to be enough public property to go around. So more and more hunters are choosing to purchase a piece of their own hunting land. Certainly, the more acreage, the better, but that doesn't always have to be the case, especially when it comes to whitetail deer hunting. Having access to a few good stand sites can be more than enough. Last November, I got together with a good friend on his land in North Dakota for a late-season archery whitetail hunt. He had whitetails running around everywhere, and as you're about to see, the key wasn't quantity or vast tracts of land. It was all about quality and just enough acreage for whitetail bucks to call their proper home. Hey. In North Dakota, my first time bow hunting the state of North Dakota. Heard incredible things about it. Good friend of mine invited me up, Mark Nelson, to join him at his place. We're just headed out this afternoon to the ground blinds and tree stands for the first time. Winter has besieged us and set in. It's super cold right now. That could be good for deer movement. It's a matter of how long can we stand it. Here in North Dakota, Mark Nelson owns a 28-acre parcel of land that's located in the Red River Riverbottoms. Surrounded by much coveted cropland, the key to whitetail movements here are shelter belts. Thick cover the deer can use for bedding and secluded corridors for movement.
I'm on the river. They've been going around it quite a bit and walking the shelter belt through here. So we figured we put bait on the far end over here and uncover the riverside. Before I step foot in the woods, I'm gonna make sure I spray my shoes down and my gloves. And my clothes have all been treated ahead of time with scent color gold, so they're completely descended. Everything I have is completely descended, including my body. But still, you want to get the soles and the toes of your shoes before you go in. It just makes good sense.
Well, we got a 28-acre parcel here. I mean, this isn't a lot of property, but again, what we're doing is using the fields that the farmers have, and we're just kind of like almost like a passageway here from their bedding area to the feeding area. And it goes to show you on a small parcel like we call this buckhorn, how many deer actually come through, and if you handle it right, how much fun you can have in an area like this.
Mark settles into a tree stand overlooking a plowed field within one of these shelter belts, while I do the same in a ground blind on the opposite end of his property.
I don't like to use my release with the glove on, so I fold it out of the road like so. I got a hand warmer in this pocket here, so I can keep this hand down in there. But then at the time that I'm gonna shoot, no matter how cold it is, I can bring out a bare hand, pop the release, and ready to go.
How long we can take the cold is on both of our minds as we wait for the first signs of late afternoon movement. I guess we'll just have to chill out and see. Continuing now, not far from Fargo, North Dakota, Mark Nelson is braving the extremely cold late November temperature and rattling to hopefully coax a buck in the bow range. Again, set up in shelter belts, he and I are hunting on his 28-acre property, which is surrounded by agricultural feeding fields. And as the deer move through en route from their beds to food, that's when we're hoping to get a close-range shot. It only takes minutes before the first deer shows up, then another and another and another. I guess it's time for me to just be quiet so we can all see how Mark's first evening hunt plays out.
It's pretty ironic. I've been hunting here for 15 years, and there's nights that we see 7-8 bucks at a time in the field, and that particular night we've seen somewhere between 15 and 17 bucks. It was just an incredible evening.
Cold. Another buck just come through here, but it's a little small, and he didn't stop anyhow. There's another buck. He's coming. Here he comes. I'm gonna take him. He's coming right here. He's gonna come right here. I hit my gold. I hit the string on my gold, but I still made a good hit. He's right there. Thank you, big guy. Yes. Thank you. That was a nice buck. That's awesome. I feel good about that. It's cold, but I feel good about that buck.
Okay, back to North Dakota and our late season archery whitetail hunt, where on the first evening, Mark Nelson appeared to make a close range killing shot on a nice buck.
Thank you, big guy. Yes. Thank you.
But before we find out for sure, let's back up to the beginning of my ground blind hunt that same afternoon.
We're out in the hedgerow. There's some corn down over here. The Red River back over here. And this hedgerow becomes a travel corridor. Anytime you can have hedges and travel corridors, they're positive things. So the negative is I've got one little shooting lane about 8 feet wide. It's just real thick. And we're so close you can only shoot so far here. This is another thing I like to do. Yes, we are completely descended, but you're always giving off scent. So when I get into a blind, about every 20, 30 minutes, I spray the blind down just like this, just to take away any possibility of contaminated air. I don't know, that's just me, this little one right here. Fits right in your pocket real easy, so it's easy to carry. First buck. He didn't take the trail though, he went through the brush. And boy, that's gonna be hard to shoot through that. That's a good sign. The little buck walked right through here in front of us. He didn't look at the blind, he didn't spot us. In case you're wondering why I look like a glowworm here, that rifle season is still on in North Dakota for residents. It's Friday afternoon, so we have to wear orange during that period, which is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This is not going to be an easy thing to pull off. Got a little deer buck coming in right there. He's stopping to feed. and he stood up and he postured like this. And it's so thick here I can't see nothing. And then I could see a horn top, tying about so high.
Back at the truck later that night, Mark and I share our stories.
I mean, the thing was 15 yards, 14 yards from me, but the brush was so thick I couldn't make his body out. Then I could see his legs and I could just see a big horn. And all of a sudden, he put his head down and he started to move. He walked into the opening. And I hit him good, but I hit him back.
Oh, congratulations.
It happened so quick, I can't tell you how big he is. I think he's got some good, I think it's a good buck.
Oh, good for you.
But anyway, how was your night?
I think we had a total of 14 or 15 bucks.
Holy buckets.
We had bucks underneath us, and the one, I actually shot one too.
You shot a deer?
Yeah, I got one too, yeah.
Absolutely. Good shot?
Yeah, good shot.
The decision is quickly made to leave mine alone until the following morning and go after Mark's sure bet right away.
Well, we're going to get Mark's. Rage did the job. Look at the size of the head on him. That's probably a 3.5-year-old deer at least.
Oh yeah.
It's a good heavy buck.
Anyway, you look at it, that's a nice buck. That's a good eating, that one.
Darn right.
He was a good buck to take, but he also was he's gonna be a good eating buck. That's some good sausage there.
Next morning, Mark and I meet at the spot my buck was standing when I took the shot. With our fingers crossed and knowledge of a far back hit, tracking begins.
Followed it right through here, and I'm sure this is him. I got no blood, but
I know.
No.
Mark, he's hit hard enough. I think he's going to take the path of least resistance. You know, it's just like we walked quite a ways before we found the arrow.
Right.
And we never seen a spot of blood, but we're following that same path of least resistance.
Boy, that's a wicked arrow.
Yeah, this is those Victory Vaps.
Okay.
Little tiny things that have more penetration than you can possibly imagine.
Okay.
This Vap with that Rage hypodermic has the most penetration power of any arrow in broadhead I know of on the market that exists.
Oh.
This deer is dead. All we got to do is find him.
Oh, look at there, babe. There he lies.
I knew the buck was dead. It was up to us to find him. And when you got to try and find a deer, no blood trail, he's been dead for a while too. See, that's a nice buck. He's a good representative species. I killed him with a bow. I don't care about record books. I care about memories. And you know, the memory of that little buck being right in front of us, and all of a sudden I see this tine, and the brush is so thick. This deer was 12 yards from me, and I could not see his body through that brush. It was that thick. So anyway, he didn't actually go that far.
No, you know what? I figure about
100 yards maybe?
Hey, if that. Yeah.
But this one goes in my record book. My record book of hunting memories. Every one of those memories are what make my life so valuable to me. You know, it's you can do a lot of things for a living, but to be able to do this, I am so appreciative for the opportunity.
The Great Taste from Chris's Kitchen, brought to you by the Great Taste of Johnsonville Sausage.
Hi everybody, on the menu today is a recipe called Whitetail Bolognese. That's pronounced bolognese. Anyway, with all the hunters in our household, we bring home a lot of venison, like Babe did after his North Dakota bow hunt last fall. What a wonderful hunt he said it was. And now we're gonna put that nice buck to some great personal use and find a happy home for it in our tummies. So now here's all it takes to make whitetail bolognese. Okay, this recipe, you see all these ingredients and you're thinking, oh, it's gonna be difficult. It's not. I mean, we're gonna start with some sliced garlic. And I'd like to just cook that in a little bit of olive oil just to get it nice and brown. And we're just gonna add in our ground venison. And we're gonna add our shallots, bacon. And now we're gonna brown this, and then we're gonna add all of the rest of our ingredients. Okay, when I'm just about done frying this up where it's nice and brown, I'm gonna add the celery and the carrots. And I'd like to keep these a little tender crisp, just because, I mean, when you take a nice bite out of this sauce, you want a little crunch to it, and you get to savor all the flavors that we've added to it. All right, now our vegetables are all done. I'm gonna add my tomatoes. This is crushed tomatoes, tomato sauce, red wine, and this is a little bit of the juice from the noodles. Why you do that is because it helps the sauce incorporate itself into the noodles when you go to mix it up. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper at this point in time. I like to simmer this maybe about 10-15 minutes. Then I'm gonna add my heavy cream, and I like to just heat this through, and you're gonna be ready to serve your meal. Bacon, shallots, celery, garlic, tomatoes, wine, heavy cream, Parmesan, and of course, delicious venison. That's whitetail bolognese. It's so incredibly good.
Thanks so much for everyone who made today's show possible and for allowing me to check yet another amazing hunting adventure off my list. I guess today's show demonstrates pretty well that you don't have to own a lot of land to take part in the tradition or be successful at whitetail deer hunting.
This one goes in my record book. My record book of hunting memories.
On only 28 acres, both Mark Nelson and I took nice North Dakota bucks in only a half day of hunting. The key was sheltered stand locations within an area surrounded by big, wide open farm fields. Attention to scent elimination and attractants, keeping quiet, eliminating movement, and being in position at the right place and time. Whatever the reasons or excuses, neither one of us made perfect shots. I'm sure the particulars will be debated between Mark and I for years to come, but the 1-2 penetrating punch of Victory Vap arrows and Rage hypodermic broadheads certainly made the difference. Even when we weren't perfect, their performance definitely was. I'm Babe Winkelman. Thanks for watching, and until next time, everybody, hey, good hunting.